Rain lashed the windshield of Abigail Harper's sleek black BMW like 1,000 tiny fists. Each drop a furious accusation as the Montana storm howled with a vengeance that matched the chaos clawing at her chest. Lightning tore the sky apart, illuminating the twisting mountain road ahead. A ribbon of asphalt slick with ice and betrayal. Her knuckles whitened as she gripped the steering wheel, her breath shallow, her pulse a drumbeat of panic and resolve. 3 days ago, she'd stared at the faint pink lines on a pregnancy test, her world tilting on its axis. Now, one on one, her hand fluttered to her still flat stomach, shielding the secret that had turned her life into a runaway train hurtling toward an abyss. Abby, please, one of you are on. Her brother Ethan's voice crackled through the speakerphone, sharp and desperate, cutting through the static of the storm. Where the hell are you going? Come back to the house. We can talk this out. Talk. The word tasted bitter, like ash on her tongue. She swiped at the tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking as she spat back. You tried to kill me, Ethan. The memory hit her like a punch, the puddle of brake fluid pooling beneath her everyday sedan in the garage that afternoon. The jagged slice in the lines she'd found when her assistant, Rachel, insisted something was wrong. If she hadn't switched to the BMW at the last second, she'd be a crumpled wreck at the bottom of some ravine by now. Her stomach churned, bile rising as she pictured it, her body broken. Her unborn child lost to her brother's cold ambition. You're hysterical, Ethan snapped, his tone icing over, shedding the pretense of concern. Think about what you're saying. Abby, who's Dad going to believe? His CFO? Or his emotional wreck of a daughter who's been off her game for weeks? Her hands trembled as she steered around another curve, the storm worsening with every mile. The road out of Big Sky's exclusive Yellowstone Club was a death trap, even in sunlight. But turning back wasn't an option. Not after what she'd uncovered in Ethan's office that morning. The doctored ledgers, the offshore accounts, the emails plotting to pin it all on her. She'd stumbled into a viper's nest wearing her family's name. I've got proof. Ethan, Terma morning, she said, her voice steadying despite the fear gnawing at her bones. The embezzlement, the gambling debts, the threats to our staff. How long did you think you could bury it? Silence stretched taut on the line, a wire ready to snap. When Ethan spoke again, his whisper was a blade. Where are you going, Abby? Lightning flashed, and a road sign loomed ahead. Bozeman, 30 miles. Her heart seized. She was driving straight toward the one place she'd sworn to avoid. The one man she'd vowed to protect from her family's poison, Lucas Kane. The cowboy who'd stolen her breath last summer and left her with a piece of him growing inside her. Goodbye, Ethan. Oshirinum, she said, ending the call and tossing the phone onto the passenger seat. It skittered against the leather, a small rebellion against the weight of his words. Who will Dad believe? Maranananawam. She knew the answer. Victor Harper had always favored Ethan, grooming him to inherit Harper Industries while relegating Abigail to the family's charity arm, a gilded cage for the soft-hearted dreamer. They'd called her The baby shifted, or maybe it was her imagination. Too early for real movement, but she felt it, a fragile spark of life that tied her to Lucas, to a world beyond the sterile penthouses and boardrooms she'd always known. Another bolt of lightning cracked the sky. Closer now, and she squinted through the deluge, wipers thrashing uselessly against the rain. The road curved sharply, and she eased off the gas. But the realization came too late. Black ice. The BMW slid, tires screaming for grip, and Abigail's world spun into chaos. The car pirouetted across the road, headlights slashing through the dark, catching a glimpse of a weathered sign, Hayden Creek Ranch. Before the guardrail buckled, metal shrieked, glass shattered, and the rocky embankment rushed up to meet her. Her scream died in her throat as darkness swallowed her whole. She woke to the sound of dripping water and the sharp tang of gasoline. Pain throbbed in her temple, a hot pulse that blurred her vision as she blinked against the dim glow of the dashboard lights. The BMW was tilted at a sickening angle, wedged against a boulder. The driver's side door crumpled like tissue paper. Her hands fumbled to her stomach, a sob catching in her chest. Still there, still safe. She prayed. Abigail, Soisurn, a voice called, rough with worry. Cutting through the storm's roar, she turned her head, wincing, and saw him, Lucas Kane, soaked to the bone, his broad frame illuminated by the flickering beam of a flashlight. his dark hair plastered to his forehead, green eyes wide with fear as he scrambled down the embankment toward her. "Lucas," she rasped, relief flooding her, even as tears stung her eyes. He reached the car, yanking at the passenger door until it gave with a groan. "Hold on, darling. Swanuhum," he said, his Montana drawl thick with urgency as he slid an arm around her, pulling her free of the wreckage. She clung to him, her body shaking. The warmth of his flannel shirt, a lifeline against the cold seeping into her bones. "You're hurt," he murmured, brushing a calloused thumb across the blood trickling from her forehead. "What happened?" "I couldn't stop," she whispered, her voice trembling with more than just the crash. "Ethan, he tried to." The words choked her, too heavy to speak, but Lucas's jaw tightened, understanding flickering in his gaze. He didn't push, just lifted her into his arms and carried her up the slope, the storm raging around them like a beast unleashed. By the time they reached the ranch house, Abigail's teeth were chattering, her designer coat sodden and useless. Lucas kicked the door open, setting her on a worn leather couch before a crackling fire. His mother, Margaret, appeared with a blanket, her gray-streaked hair pulled back, her face lined with quiet strength. "Good Lord, Shirador," Margaret said, wrapping the quilt around Abigail's shoulders. "What's a city girl like you doing out in this mess?" Abigail's laugh was brittle, edged with hysteria. "Running," she said, meeting Lucas's eyes across the room. He knelt beside her, his hand steady as he pressed a warm cloth to her forehead. "From what?" he asked softly, though the tension in his shoulders told her he already suspected. "My family," she admitted, the confession spilling out like blood from a wound. "My brother, he's stealing millions, framing me for it. And tonight, he cut my brakes." Lucas's expression darkened, a storm of his own brewing behind those green eyes. What?" "I found the proofs," she continued, her voice gaining strength as the fire's heat thawed her numbness. "Ledgers, your warrants, emails. He's been siphoning money from Harper Industries, hiding it through the charity I run. When I confronted him, he tried to make sure I wouldn't talk." Margaret's sharp intake of breath mirrored Lucas's low growl. "That son of a—" He cut himself off, standing abruptly to pace the room, fists clenched. "You're safe here." "Abigail, wanna simmer," Margaret said, her tone firm as she squeezed Abigail's hand. "No one's getting through that door." But Abigail shook her head, dread coiling tighter in her gut. "You don't know, Ethan. He won't stop, not until he buries me in everything I know." Lucas stopped pacing, turning to face her. "We kukentanimon, no," his silhouette framed by the firelight. "Then we don't let him. Whatever it takes. Abby, I'm with you." Her heart stuttered at the nickname, at the fierce protectiveness in his voice. She hadn't seen him in months, not since she'd ended things to shield him from her family's reach. But here he was, unwavering, as if the time apart had only sharpened his resolve. "There's more." "Once her race was sure, she whispered, her hand drifting to her stomach again. "I'm pregnant. Lucas, it's yours." The room went still, the crackle of the fire the only sound as his eyes widened, shock giving way to something softer, deeper. He crossed back to her in 2 strides, dropping to his knees and taking her hands in his. "Mine. Zerdionasserum," he repeated, voice rough with awe. "Ours." Tears spilled over, hot against her chilled skin, and she nodded. "I didn't tell you. I couldn't. I thought if I kept you out of this, you'd be safe. But now we're in it together." He finished, his grip tightening. "No more running, Abby. Not from me, not from him." She wanted to believe him, to sink into the safety of his promise. But the storm outside roared a warning Ethan was coming, and he'd bring hell with him. 3 months earlier, the late August sun had bathed the Gallatin County Fairgrounds in golden warmth, a stark contrast to the unease simmering in Abigail Harper's chest as she adjusted her cream sundress among a sea of denim and cowboy boots. The annual Bozeman Charity Rodeo was her foundation's flagship event, a chance to fund kids' riding programs. But this year felt off-kilter, maybe because her mother's steady guidance was gone, or maybe because Ethan's late-night calls about urgent business at Harper Industries had grown too frequent. "Too cagey, Abby or Wom." Rachel hurried over, a clipboard in hand, her freckled face flushed with excitement. The Hayden Creek Ranch crew just rolled in, They're our top donors this year, even after she hesitated, glancing around before dropping her voice. Even after what your dad's company did to their neighbors. Abigail winced. Harper Industries' aggressive land grabs had turned half the valley against them. Old ranch families whispering about greed and betrayal. Where are they? Iridiran, she asked, smoothing her dress to hide the tremor in her hands. By the registration tent, Rachel said, her eyes twinkling. And let me tell you, their team leader, Yurida Dashirawarn Amtarayawa, Lucas Kane. The rumors don't do him justice. Abigail rolled her eyes at Rachel's teasing, but curiosity tugged her toward the tent. The air buzzed with the scent of leather. In a way, you're in I and barbecue, a raw, earthy pulse that felt more real than the polished boardroom she usually navigated. She spotted him before he saw her. Lucas Kane, towering over the crowd, his broad shoulders stretching a faded denim shirt, dark hair spilling from beneath a battered Stetson. He was adjusting a kid's riding helmet, his strong hands moving with a gentleness that made her breath catch. There you go, buddy, he said, his deep voice carrying a hint of gravel. Safety first, then glory. The boy grinned, and Lucas straightened, his gaze locking with hers as she approached. Up close, his eyes were a striking green, crinkled from years under the Montana sun, and they held hers with an intensity that sent heat curling through her. Mr. Kane, she said, extending a hand, willing her voice to stay steady despite the flutter in her chest. I'm Abigail Harper, and my name is Shibatijuman, one on was. Thank you for supporting our children's program. His handshake was firm, his palm rough against her smooth one, and a faint smile tugged at his lips. Half challenge, half warmth. The saucer shorton, beware. Harper for Sir Doria Wasson, he said, his drawl wrapping around her name like a caress. Didn't expect to see a Harper down here in the dirt with us. Your dad's latest resort plans tell a different story. The bluntness jolted her. Most people danced around her family's power, but not him. I'm not my father, she replied, lifting her chin. Gasuri nonemonom. The foundation's mine, not his. Lucas Uri Wakinemine, he corrected, his gaze sharpening as he studied her. And I reckon you mean that, or you wouldn't be here. Before she could answer, a shout rang out. A young rider's horse bolted toward the crowd. Lucas vaulted the fence in a fluid motion, intercepting the animal with a calm authority that left Abigail staring, her pulse racing. He soothed the horse, then crouched to comfort the shaken girl, his voice low and steady. First scare's the worst. Darling, get back on, and I'll ride for you later. Deal? The girl nodded, and Abigail felt something shift inside her, a pull toward this man who wore kindness as easily as strength. He's good with them, she said when he returned, her voice softer than she intended. Kids and horses, he shrugged, but his eyes sparkled. They know when you're faking it. His glance flicked to her dress, teasing now, ever-ridden Western. Minnes Harper, Fiedeben Meshawanern. Abigail Woodihan and the Resonon, she corrected, surprising herself. And no, English only. Why's that? Turina Montemanch. His grin turned playful. A woman running a rodeo fundraiser ought to know what she's backing. How about a lesson after? She should have said no. Victor Harper's voice echoed in her head. Harpers don't mix with ranch hands, but Lucas is open. Honest face lit a spark of defiance in her. You know what? She said in once, sure she said, a reckless smile breaking free. I'd like that. As the sun dipped below the Bridger Mountains, casting long shadows over the fairgrounds, Abigail had no idea she'd just stepped onto a path that would unravel her life and stitch it back together in ways she'd never imagined. September rolled in, painting Paradise Valley in hues of gold and amber as Abigail's BMW bumped down the hidden dirt road to Hayden Creek Ranch. The past few weeks had been a blur of secret meetups with Lucas, each one tugging her deeper into his world, a place of wide skies and quiet truths, so far from the suffocating polish of her own. Her heart leaped when she spotted his truck by the stables, a familiar anchor in the storm brewing inside her. She'd told her family she was scouting grant recipients, another lie in a web she couldn't escape. Lucas emerged from the barn as she parked, his face breaking into a smile that melted her defenses. Wasn't sure you'd come today. Chiwam. Sonner, he said, helping her down, his hands lingering on her waist. Saw the Harper Industries press release. New resort. Huh? she sighed, leaning into him. The weight of her father's latest project pressing down 3,000 acres of ranch land turned into condos for rich weekenders. It's hollow. Your world, he said. No judgment, just fact. His arms tightening around her. Not anymore, she murmured, brushing his cheek, the stubble rough against her fingertips. This feels real. He kissed her palm, a spark igniting in his eyes. Come with me, I've got something to show you. They rode out together, Abigail now at ease on a borrowed mare, Lucas leading her up a trail through golden aspens. The air sharpened as they climbed, pine and distant snow mingling in her lungs. At a high meadow bursting with wildflowers, he stopped, dismounting to help her down. Below, the valley sprawled like a dream, the Yellowstone River glinting silver. My great-granddad proposed here, Lucas said, his voice low with reverence. Said he'd give her the whole valley. It's stunning, Abigail breathed, stepping closer, drawn by the pride in his tone. Abby, he said, turning to her, a simple silver ring in his hand, his eyes blazing with intensity. I know our worlds don't fit. I know your family'd hate this. But these weeks, I've never felt anything like you. Her breath hitched, tears pricking as she took the ring. Its plain beauty a rebuke to the gaudy jewels of her old life. Yes, Synonym, Sarita Remine she whispered. Yes to all of it. He kissed her, fierce and certain, and they made love under the open sky, wrapped in a blanket he'd brought. The meadow their sanctuary. Later, riding back, reality crept in. Her phone buzzed with Ethan's demands, her father's voicemails about meetings. The pull between her worlds tightened, a noose around her neck. You're quiet, Lucas noted as they untacked the horses. Just thinking? She swayed, dizziness washing over her. And he caught her. Eikesemirman, steadying her with a frown. You okay? Fine, she lied. But the truth crashed through, missed periods. Subtle shifts she'd ignored. Pregnant. I have to go, she stammered, panic rising. A meeting I forgot, Abigail. Wait, but she was already running to her car, hand on her stomach, his silhouette shrinking in her mirror as she fled. The weight of their child a secret she couldn't yet face. Back at the Harper estate that night, Abigail stared at the third positive test, her hands shaking as Ethan's footsteps echoed down the hall toward their father's study. Their voices drifted. Plans to buy out another ranch. Victor's cold decree. Hayden Creek's next. I want them gone by spring. Horror gripped her. How could she tell Lucas now? Her family would crush him, his land, his legacy. And if they learned about the baby? She typed a text with trembling fingers. I'm sorry. Lucas Sermatursininamuanputti. We're done. Itchasirawas. Kurasimersonas. Don't contact me. Then she sank to the floor, sobs racking her silently as her world split in two. October winds howled outside Harper Industries' Bozeman Tower as Abigail pored over charity reports, her blazer hiding the slight swell of her belly. 6 weeks since she'd seen Lucas. His unanswered texts, please talk to me. I miss you. A knife in her heart. Miss Harper. Nidier Doderidiwan. Rachel burst in, closing the door. You need to see this. She handed over files, pointing to transactions. These donations, they're laundering money. Millions disappearing offshore. Abigail's blood ran cold. Ethan's using my charity, she whispered. Nausea hitting hard, morning sickness or dread. She couldn't tell. Rachel's eyes widened. Abby, are you? A knock cut her off. Ethan loomed in the doorway, his smile a mask. You look pale. Someone a wardy irian. Surly Siderican. Working too hard. She slid the files away. Just reports. What do you do want? What do you want? Dinner at the Yellowstone Club tonight, he said, his gaze flicking to her stomach. A predator's glint. Dad needs us to charm the Richardsons for the resort deal. Fun. That evening, amid the club's elite, Abigail felt Ethan's eyes boring into her. Victor announced to be Hayden Creek's the last piece. Construction starts in spring. They won't sell, a guest remarked. Everyone has a price. Ethan sneered, or a breaking point. Abigail's fork clattered, her stomach lurching as she fled to the restroom, vomiting from pregnancy and panic. And when she emerged, Ethan waited. Interesting timing, he said, stepping close. Your condition wouldn't tie to those ranch visits, would it? I don't know what you mean, she lied, heart pounding. The cowboy, he hissed. Father'd hate that scandal. Imagine Jack Kane ruined, his land gone. You're drunk, she snapped. Pulling away. Accidents happen, he called after her, his threat chilling her blood. Then she saw him, Lucas, striding through the entrance, his work clothes stark against the tuxedos, his eyes finding hers across the room. He froze, noticing her bump, shock morphing into fierce determination. I, sir, ma'am. An aide interrupted. Mr. Harper needs you. In Torney Shardsome, she fled to the terrace, Victor shouting after her. But she ran to her car, tears blinding her as the baby kicked. Its first real movement. I'm sorry, she whispered, driving into the night, leaving Lucas behind as Ethan's words echoed. Who will Dad believe? The storm that night mirrored the one brewing in her life. At Hayden Creek, Margaret pulled out old records as Abigail sat, hand on her growing belly. I knew you'd come, Margaret said. Lucas told me, your brother, the baby. I didn't want to drag you in, Abigail murmured. My family's hurt yours enough. Margaret spread clippings. Bank denies ranch loans. Harper buys foreclosures, and explained. Your dad didn't just buy land. He ruined us, called in loans, forced us out. My husband fought him, gathered proof. Then his brakes failed on Dead Man's Curve. Abigail's breath caught, the echo of her own sabotage too loud. Ethan's repeating it, she said. Lucas appeared, his face thunderous as he saw the evidence. No more secrets, he vowed, pulling her close, his hand on her bump as the baby kicked. A text from Rachel buzzed. Ethan knows you're there. He's coming. Tires crunched outside, and Ethan's voice rang out. Time to come home, Abby. Lucas moved to confront him, but Abigail stopped him. He's dangerous. He knows everything. Then we expose him, Lucas said, leading her to the stables. Ethan blocked their path, smirking. A romantic. What would Mom think? Leave her out of this. Abigail snarled. She knew too much. Ethan said, eyes glinting. Dead Man's Curve, wrong secrets. The world tilted. You killed her. History repeats. He shrugged. Pulling a phone, one call, and your cowboy's done. No. Abigail said, steel in her voice. I've got proof, everything. Ethan lunged, pinning her, his arm on her throat. Stupid, Lucas's fist sent him sprawling. Touch her again, Lucas growled, and you're gone. Ethan laughed, retreating. This isn't over. Abigail sagged against Lucas, shaking. He killed her, she whispered. We'll stop him. He promised, holding her tight. Together, the Bozeman Grand Hotel glittered with wealth as Abigail navigated the charity gala, her emerald gown hiding her 5-month bump. Ethan's presentation loomed, his chance to transfer the laundered funds. FBI's ready, Rachel whispered. Once he moves, we've got him. A server approached. Your brother wants you upstairs. Don't go alone, Rachel urged. But Abigail shook her head. I have to. In the dark suite, Ethan's voice slithered from the shadows. Mom dug into the ranch deals, found out about her lover, Kane's uncle. You're lying, Abigail snapped. She died for it, he said, unhinged. Just like you. Victor entered, face cold. William told me, the baby, the cowboy, you're snooping, and the embezzlement. She shot back. Mom's murder. Sirwi, Sirmani, Suriras Shiramun. Victor warned. You'll confess to stealing funds. Ib moved to London. Give up the child. Never, she said, backing away. Ethan lunged, hands on her throat. Should have ended you. Glass shattered. Lucas burst in with FBI agents. Hands up. Ethan grabbed her, a gun to her head. Back off. Victor stepped forward. Sir, son, stop. You taught me this. Ethan screamed. Abigail elbowed him, ducking as Lucas tackled him. The gun firing wide. Agents swarmed, cuffing both men. It's over, Abigail said, tears falling as Lucas held her. You're safe, he whispered. Dawn broke as they left, but Ethan's words lingered. This isn't over. Sorry. 2 weeks later, Darney, at Hayden Creek, Abigail watched Lucas with the horses, their daughter's future brightening in her mind. Ethan's out on bail. Rachel warned, spreading papers. He's spinning lies, says you're the villain. He's desperate, Abigail said. She ran to raise her. That night, she found a photo, her mom with Lucas's uncle. Proof of their fight against Victor. She died for this, she told Lucas. We use it. At the board meeting, she played Thomas Kane's recording, exposing decades of corruption, and surrendered the company with a demand. Return the lands. Ethan pulled a gun, but Lucas stopped him. It's done, Abigail said as security dragged him away. Later, she felt free, not victorious, ready for their new start. At the courthouse, Victor confessed, naming their daughter Catherine after her mom. Gunmen stormed in, Ethan's last play, but Victor stopped them. Choosing redemption. Snow fell as Abigail and Lucas left. Hope outweighing fear. Months later, they wed at Hayden Creek, Catherine cooing as Victor. Humbled Wainor Pinash offered to fund a real foundation. In the meadow where it began, Abigail felt her mom's presence. Love had won. A legacy reborn from ashes. The spring breeze carried the scent of wildflowers and new beginnings across Hayden Creek Ranch as Abigail Kane, Nene Harper, stood in the doorway of the renovated barn, her lace wedding gown brushing the weathered wood floor. 2 months had passed since little Catherine's birth, and the chaos of the trial felt like a distant echo, softened by the golden light spilling over the Montana landscape. Her heart swelled as she watched Lucas, now her husband, laughing with their guests under strings of twinkling lights, his Stetson tipped back, green eyes catching hers with a warmth that still stole her breath. Catherine slept peacefully in a bassinet nearby, her tiny hand curled around the silver ring Abigail had once worn in secret, a symbol of the love that had carried them through storms, both literal and figurative. Margaret adjusted the veil pinned into Abigail's dark curls, her hand steady despite the emotion shimmering in her gray eyes. You're a vision. Ihonashondas and need managed. Darling, Aruam, she said, stepping back to admire her work. Never thought I'd see this day after all we've been through. Abigail's throat tightened, a smile trembling on her lips. I didn't either, she admitted, her voice soft with wonder. There were moments I thought Ethan would win, that the Harper name would bury us all. Margaret lifted Catherine gently as the baby stirred, cradling her granddaughter with a tenderness that mirrored Lucas's. Love stronger than hate. Abby Sortimpornpi. This little one's proof of that. Abigail nodded, her gaze drifting to the memorial table where photos of her mother, Elizabeth Harper, and Lucas's uncle, Thomas Kane, stood side by side. Two souls who'd fought for truth and paid the ultimate price. Today, their families were united, not by vengeance, but by something purer, something lasting. Rachel poked her head in, her freckled face alight with excitement. Everyone's ready, and Abby, you've got a visitor. Abigail turned, her breath catching as Victor Harper stepped into the barn. His suit crisp, but his posture humbled, the weight of prison etched into the lines of his face. He'd been a titan once, a man who'd built an empire on broken lives, but the past months had stripped him bare, leaving something raw and human in his place. Dad was to him, she whispered, surprise mingling with a flicker of old pain. I wasn't sure you'd come. My granddaughter's parents are getting married, he said, his voice rough but steady, his eyes fixed on Catherine in Margaret's arms. I've missed too much already. He hesitated, then stepped closer, hands trembling slightly. May I? Abigail glanced at Margaret, who nodded, carefully transferring Catherine to Victor's arms. He held her as if she were glass, his breath hitching as he studied her tiny features. Elizabeth's dark hair, Lucas's green eyes. She looks like her, he murmured, tears glistening in his eyes. Your mother, especially now. I'm naming her Catherine Elizabeth, Abigail said, drawing strength from the words, for her and for the future she wanted. Victor's gaze met hers, heavy with regret. I've been thinking, Abby, about paths, about choices. I'm selling what's left of Harper Industries. The money's going to a foundation, a real one, not a front, to help ranch families keep their land. If you'll run it with me, her heart stuttered, hope warring with the scars he'd left. We'd be honored, she said finally, glancing at Lucas through the window as he approached the altar. Both of us want to different. Music swelled, not a stiff march, but a soft country tune about home and heart, and Victor offered his arm. Let's get you married. Then, he said, a faint smile breaking through his somber mask. Together, for cremation. They stepped into the sunlight. The crowd, a blend of ranch hands in pressed jeans and corporate suits, a testament to the worlds they'd bridged. Lucas waited at the altar, his eyes bright with unshed tears as he took her in. His bride, his partner, the mother of his child. The minister's voice faded into the background as Abigail's pulse thundered with joy, her hands finding Lucas's, his calloused fingers threading through hers with a promise that needed no words. Abigail Catherine Harper, she began, her voice clear and sure. Choose you today and every day. In you, I found not just love, but the strength to fight for what's right, to honor my mother's memory and build something beautiful from all the broken pieces. Lucas's grip tightened, his voice rough with emotion. I, Lucas Thomas Kane, choose you, our daughter, and every dream we'll chase together. You showed me that the truest legacy isn't land or wealth. It's the love we hold and the truth we defend. Catherine cooed from Margaret's arms as they kissed, the crowd erupting in cheers, the sound rolling across the meadow like a wave of light. The reception unfolded under the stars, and as Lucas led her to the dance floor, Abigail felt the weight of the past slip away, replaced by a future as vast as the Montana sky. Happy, he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. Complete. Danna is her certain, she corrected, watching Catherine giggle in Victor's arms as Margaret joined them, the three grandparents sharing a moment of quiet unity. Later, in the high meadow where their love had first taken root, Lucas wrapped his arms around her. Catherine nestled against her chest. Your mom would be proud, he said softly, his voice blending with the rustle of the breeze. Both our family's ghosts can rest now, not ghosts. Abigail replied, smiling as she touched the ring on her finger, now paired with a simple gold band. Guardians, watching over her, making sure she grows up knowing love's the strongest thing there is. Lucas grinned, a spark of mischief in his eyes. Speaking of our girl, I caught her eyeing the foals today. Definite cowgirl material. Abigail laughed, the sound free and bright. A cowgirl who'll run the foundation if she wants. She'll have every door open, every choice hers. They stood together as stars bloomed above the ranch. Their land now safe, their legacy rewritten, not in the empire her father had built, but in the family they'd forged. Somewhere in the wind, Abigail swore she heard her mother's laughter, a blessing on this new chapter, this triumph of love over lies. But peace, it seemed to Wakadiri was a fragile thing. 3 weeks after the wedding, Abigail sat in the ranch kitchen, nursing a mug of tea as dawn painted the sky pink. Catherine babbled in her high chair, tugging at Abigail's heartstrings with every gummy smile. Lucas was out with the horses, his silhouette a steady comfort through the window. When the crunch of tires on gravel jolted her from her reverie, her stomach dropped. Reporters had stopped coming after the trial. Their story, old news. Who now? So, Rachel burst through the door, her face pale, a laptop tucked under her arm. Abby, we've got trouble. Abigail stood, tea forgotten, as Rachel set the computer on the table. Ethan's out, she said, her voice tight. Not just on bail, he cut a deal. Temporary insanity plea, reduced charges. He's free, and he's talking. A video loaded, Ethan's face filling the screen, gaunt but composed, standing at a podium in a crisp suit. My sister Abigail claims our father and I destroyed our family, he said, his voice smooth as oil. The truth is, our mother's death shattered us. Abby's actions, her affair with Kane, her theft of company funds, stem from that pain. As her brother, Winters runs to her. I want to bring her home, heal her, protect her child. The clip ended, and Abigail's laugh was sharp. Bitter while we're on us. Home. Where he tried to kill me, he's playing the martyr now. Public opinion shifting, Rachel warned, spreading printouts, headlines screaming, Harper heir seeks redemption. Abigail Kane accused of betrayal. And there's more. Someone's leaking old photos, your mom with Thomas Kane. They're saying she cheated, that her death was justified. Lucas stormed in, his boots loud on the floorboards, face thunderous. What's Ethan pulling now? Rewriting history, Abigail said, her hands clenching, making mom the villain to save himself. Margaret joined them, her expression grim as she took Catherine from the chair. He's desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. We need to move. Lucas said, his hand brushing Abigail's shoulder. Get you both somewhere safe. No, Naku, she snapped, surprising herself with the steel in her voice. I'm done hiding. I dreamed of escaping the Harper world, now I have. But he's still controlling us, turning our lives into his game. She met Lucas's eyes. Resolve hardening. Catherine won't grow up afraid of him. We fight back our way. That night, sleepless, Abigail wandered to the ranch study, finding an old album Margaret had missed. A photo stopped her cold. Elizabeth laughing beside Thomas Kane, his green eyes so like Lucas's. They had proof, Lucas said from the doorway, his voice low. Not an affair, evidence of everything Victor did. It's out there somewhere. Then we find it, she said, clutching the picture. Mom died for the truth. I won't let it stay buried. The next morning, Abigail stood before the Harper Industries board, now a shadow of its former self. Lucas at her side, Rachel with her laptop ready. Ethan sat at the head, his smile smug until he saw her. Well, he drawled, the prodigal returns, dragging her cowboy along. Not as strange as attempted murder. Abigail shot back, nodding to Rachel. The screen flared to life with Thomas Kane's face, young and earnest. If you're watching, Elizabeth Harper and I are likely dead. He began, detailing Victor's corruption, fraudulent loans, forced sales, threats. Elizabeth chose to expose it. They'll kill her for it. Ethan leaped up. This is nonsense. Sit, a board member barked. Abigail placed a faded letter on the table. Her mother's last words to Thomas. Dated the day she died. Read it. Ethan, she said. Or I will. He paled, venom in his whisper. You're just like her, too naive to see what it takes to win. Lucas stepped forward, voice quiet but lethal. My uncle died for this. Your mom died for it. That's winning. Your empire's just smoke. Abigail added a final blow. The FBI's reopening Mom's case. I'm handing the company to the board. Return the lands. Compensate the families. Ethan's hand went to his jacket, a gun glinting. But Lucas tackled him, pinning him as security swarmed. It's over, Abigail said softly, watching him thrash. Let it go. His laugh was broken. You think this fixes anything? Well, you can't bring her back. No, she said, touching her stomach where Catherine had grown. But I can build something better. For her, outside. Reporters mobbed them. But Lucas guided her to safety. In Victor's old office. Now Bear, she paused. I thought I'd feel triumphant, she admitted. Just free, Lucas finished, kissing her temple. Your mom's proud. Abby, let's go home. Her phone buzzed, Rachel. Ethan called a blocked number before they took him. Stay sharp. Knees prickled. But as they drove to the ranch, Catherine's future outweighed the shadow. The fight wasn't over, but they'd face it together. November's chill gripped the Gallatin County Courthouse as Abigail climbed the steps. 8 months pregnant, Lucas's hand steadying her. Ethan's trial loomed. Justice within reach. Victor emerged from a car, gaunt but resolute, their eyes meeting across the crowd. Abigail, he called. Softer than she'd ever heard. Lucas tensed, but she squeezed his hand. I need this. In the courthouse garden, dead leaves swirling, Victor studied her. You look like Elizabeth, especially now. Did you kill her? She asked, voice unwavering. Or just sign the order? Tears welled in his eyes. I loved her, but she'd have ruined us. I made a choice. Murder's not a choice, she said. Catherine kicking as if in agreement. It's a crime. She turned to go, then stopped. Her name's Catherine Elizabeth. She'll know the truth. Inside, Abigail took the stand, recounting Ethan's crimes. Her mother's recording silencing the room. William, my son, it's not too late to choose right. Ethan snapped, lunging. Shut it off. Glass exploded. Gunmen stormed in, firing. Lucas shielded her, whispering, service door, Rachel's there. Go. Not without you, she hissed. Victor's voice boomed. Stand down. The gunman froze. My son's sick, he said, facing Ethan. Elizabeth was right. I see it now. Ethan's laugh was wild, weak like them. No, Victor said, gentle. She was strong. He turned to the gunman. Your pay's cut. Leave, Mercesinen. They fled as sirens wailed. Ethan collapsing, defeated. Soon's son, Dad. For my granddaughter. It's just in where I want it, Victor said, meeting Abigail's gaze. Snow fell as they left. Victor pleading guilty. Ethan back in chains. It's beginning, Lucas said, wrapping her in his coat. Catherine's path is clear, she replied, hope blooming through the cold. Spring returned to Hayden Creek, the wedding a memory as Abigail rocked Catherine on the porch, Lucas beside her. Victor's foundation thrived under her lead. Ranch lands restored. But a letter arrived unsigned, a single line. He's not done. Ethan, free somehow, lingered like a storm on the horizon. Abigail touched Catherine's cheek, then Lucas's hand. Whatever comes, she said, we're ready. The mountains stood sentinel, their love a fortress, their legacy unbreakable, forged in truth, tempered by fire, and lit by the promise of tomorrow. Shada Dewan, Humani. The late June sun dipped low over Hayden Creek Ranch, casting long shadows across the rolling pastures as Abigail Kane sat on the porch swing. Catherine nestled in her lap, her tiny fingers clutching a daisy she'd plucked from the meadow earlier that day. At 5 months old, her daughter's green eyes, Lucas's eyes, sparkled with a curiosity that tugged at Abigail's heart, a quiet reminder of the life they'd fought so hard to build. The air hummed with the scent of fresh-cut hay and the distant whinny of horses, a symphony of peace that had settled over the ranch in the months since the wedding. Lucas emerged from the barn, wiping sweat from his brow, his denim shirt clinging to his broad frame, as he flashed her that crooked grin that still sent butterflies skittering through her chest. She's going to be a flower girl before we know it, he said, nodding at Catherine as he climbed the steps and dropped onto the swing beside them. Abigail laughed, the sound light and unburdened, a stark contrast to the weight she'd carried a year ago. She'll be roping calves with you before she's walking. At this rate, nipper mom. She teased, brushing a dark curl from Catherine's forehead. Lucas chuckled, slipping an arm around her shoulders, his warmth grounding her as the evening breeze rustled the cottonwoods lining the drive. For a moment, it was perfect, their little family, the ranch thriving under their care. The foundation Victor had seeded now blooming into a lifeline for Montana's ranchers. The headlines had quieted, the Harper scandal fading into yesterday's news, and Abigail had dared to believe they'd turned a corner. But peace, sorry, she'd learned was a fickle guest. The crunch of gravel snapped her from her reverie, her spine stiffening as a black SUV rolled up the drive, its tinted windows glinting ominously in the fading light. Lucas tensed beside her, his hand tightening on her shoulder. Stay here, he murmured, standing as the vehicle stopped and the driver's door swung open. Abigail's breath caught as Ethan Harper stepped out, his lean frame sharper than she remembered. His once polished suit replaced by a plain jacket and jeans. His face was gaunt, hollowed by months of legal battles and whatever deal had sprung him from custody. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, burned with the same malice she'd seen the night he'd pressed a gun to her head. Ethan, she said, her voice steady despite the ice pooling in her veins. She shifted Catherine closer, the baby's soft coo a stark contrast to the tension crackling in the air. Lucas stepped forward, placing himself between them, his stance deceptively calm but coiled with readiness. You've got no business here, he said, his drawl low and dangerous. Thought the courts made that clear. Ethan's lips curled into a thin smile, devoid of warmth. Courts Venuina one, Surinade, he sneered, shoving his hands into his pockets as he took a step closer. They're just another game to win. I'm a free man. Isuri Hanababa from lunch. Kane, temporary insanity's a hell of a card when you play it right. Abigail stood, cradling Catherine as her heart hammered. What do you want? She demanded, her voice cutting through the stillness. You've lost everything. Dad's in prison. The company's gone. Why can't you just let it end? Ethan's gaze flicked to Catherine, then back to her, a shadow of something unreadable crossing his face. Regret. Maybe. Or something darker. Indo, he echoed, his laugh sharp and brittle. You think stripping me of the Harper name fixes what you did? You betrayed us. Abby ran off with him, tore down everything Dad built, turned Mom into some saint to justify it. She was a saint, Abigail snapped, anger flaring hot in her chest. She died trying to stop you and Dad from ruining lives. Thomas Keynes, the ranchers of Gersui, Wishuni Sir, Sowen, mine. Norris Hishabritus. You don't get to rewrite that. Ethan's smile faded, his jaw tightening. You've got her picture up everywhere now. Don't you, Mom and her cowboy lover, the tragic heroes. But you're forgetting one thing. I'm still a Harper. And Harpers don't lose. Lucas took a step closer, his voice a low growl. You're on my land, threatening my family. Walk away, Ethan, or you won't walk at all. Ethan held his ground, unfazed, his hand twitching toward his jacket. Threats don't scare me. Kane, I came to give you a heads up. Consider it a courtesy. You think you've won, Amir, Tissot. But this story's not over. Not by a long shot. Before Lucas could respond, Margaret appeared at the porch door, a shotgun resting casually in her arms. Her gray eyes flint hard. Courtesy's done, she said, her tone clipped. Get off my ranch. Boy, or I'll show you how we settle scores out here. Ethan's eyes narrowed, but he raised his hands in mock surrender. Backing toward the SUV. Enjoy your little fairy tale, he called, his voice dripping venom. It won't last. The engine roared to life, and he peeled out, dust swirling in his wake. Abigail exhaled shakily, sinking back onto the swing as Lucas turned to her, his face etched with worry. You okay? He asked, kneeling to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. He's bluffing, she said, though doubt gnawed at her. He's got nothing left to fight with. But Lucas's jaw tightened, his gaze lingering on the empty drive. Men like him don't need much, just spite and time. Margaret set the shotgun aside, joining them with a grim nod. He's a snake, Abby. And snakes don't stop slithering till you cut the head off. Catherine whimpered, sensing the shift, and Abigail rocked her gently, forcing a smile. We've faced worse, she said, meeting Lucas's eyes. We'll handle him together. But as night fell, the unease lingered, a shadow creeping over their hard-won peace. 2 days later, Abigail sat in the ranch office, poring over foundation paperwork, the hum of a fan cutting through the summer heat. Catherine napped upstairs, and Lucas was out mending fences, leaving her alone with her thoughts. And the letter that had arrived that morning, unsigned, its single line chilling her anew. He's not done. Supinator Rachel burst in, breathless, a stack of papers in her arms. Abby, you need to see this. She spread them across the desk. Grainy photos of Elizabeth Harper and Thomas Kane. Some new, sorry you weren't key. Some familiar, pursuant to our wasn't splashed across tabloid covers with headlines like Harper Matriarch's Secret Affair and Kane Family's Revenge Plot. Ethan's behind it, Rachel said, her voice tight. He's feeding the press, twisting your mom's story into a soap opera, saying she betrayed Victor, that you and Lucas are just repeating history to steal what's left of the Harper legacy. Abigail's hands trembled as she picked up a photo, her mother laughing with Thomas. A moment of joy now twisted into a lie. He's dragging her through the mud, she whispered, fury rising, making her the villain so he can play the victim. Rachel nodded, pulling up a video on her phone. Ethan, polished and contrite, speaking to a local news crew. My sister's deluded herself into thinking she's avenging our mother. Utananin. Yahinowed. His voice smooth as silk. But Elizabeth Harper broke our family first, with her affair. Her obsession with those ranchers. I just want Abigail to come home. Get the help she needs. The clip ended, and Abigail slammed the phone down, her pulse roaring. Help. He tried to kill me, twice, and now he's painting me as the crazy one. Lucas stormed in, dust clinging to his boots, his face dark with anger. Saw the news truck at the gate, had to chase him off with the dogs. What's he doing now? Tearing us apart. Abigail said, shoving the photos toward him. He's turning Mom's fight into a scandal, and me into a traitor. Lucas studied the images, his jaw clenching as he recognized his uncle's face. He's not just after you, he's hitting us both, making the Kanes the enemy again. Margaret joined them, her expression steely. He's stirring the pot, hoping the valley picks sides. Some will believe him. Old grudges die hard. Abigail stood. It's her pacing, her mind racing. We can't let him control the narrative. Mom and Thomas had evidence, real proof of what Victor did. If we find it, we can shut him down for good. Lucas caught her hand, pulling her close, his voice steady despite the storm in his eyes. It's dangerous, Abby. He's unhinged. Pushing him could make him snap. Doing nothing's worse, she countered. Another certain Indurian assured, her resolve hardening. Catherine deserves a life free of his poison. I won't let him taint her world like he did mine. That night, unable to sleep, Abigail crept to the attic, digging through boxes Margaret had salvaged from Thomas's things. Dust tickled her nose as she unearthed a locked tin, its edges rusted but intact. Her heart pounded as she pried it open. A stack of yellowed papers, bank records, and a small recorder tumbled out. She pressed play, and Thomas's voice filled the silence, steady and grave. Victor Harper's bleeding these families dry. Elizabeth's got the loan docs to prove it. If we don't make it, hide this where they'll never look. Tears stung her eyes as she clutched the recorder. Her mother's fight. Preserved, Edmond, Wijermasimon, waiting. Lucas found her there, his silhouette filling the doorway. You okay, Tiwa? He asked, kneeling beside her. Better than okay, she said, handing him the tape. We've got him. The next morning, Abigail and Lucas drove to Bozeman, the tin's contents tucked in her bag. Catherine safe with Margaret. They met Rachel at a small news station, one Ethan hadn't bought off yet. Its producer eager for a scoop. You sure about this? Lucas asked as they stepped inside, his hand warm on her back. He'll come for us harder after. Let him try, she said, her voice steel. Mom didn't back down, neither will I. The broadcast aired that evening, Abigail's face filling screens across Montana as she held up the evidence. Thomas's tape, Elizabeth's notes, proof of Victor's crimes. My brother wants you to believe our mother betrayed us, she said, her voice clear and unflinching. The truth is, she died protecting this valley from my family's greed. Ethan's lies end here. The fallout was instant. Phones buzzed with support. Ranchers rallied, and the press turned on Ethan like hounds on a scent. But as they drove home, headlights flared behind them. A truck tailing too close. Lucas's knuckles whitened on the wheel. Hold on, he muttered, accelerating as the vehicle rammed them, metal screeching. Abigail clutched the seat, fear spiking. Ethan wasn't bluffing. Lucas swerved onto a side road, the truck following, until he slammed the brakes near a bend, forcing it to overshoot. Two figures spilled out, hired muscle. Not Ethan, but before they could regroup. Sirens wailed, sheriff's deputies swarming in. Alerted by Rachel's tip. You're safe, Lucas said, pulling her close as the men were cuffed, his breath ragged. He's out of moves. But Abigail's gut twisted. Ethan wasn't among them. He's still out there, she whispered, dread coiling tight. July blazed into August, the ranch buzzing with life as Abigail oversaw the foundation's first land grant, returning acres to a family Victor had bankrupted decades ago. Catherine toddled in the grass, Lucas chasing her with mock growls, her giggles a balm to Abigail's frayed nerves. Ethan had vanished after the chase. No calls, no sightings, just silence that felt more menacing than his threats. Victor, from prison, sent word through his lawyer. He's cut off, penniless, furious. Watch your back. One evening, as thunder rumbled over the bridgers, Abigail found a note slipped under the door. No postmark, just Ethan's scrawl. You think you've won, but I'll take it all back, starting with her. Her blood ran cold, Catherine. She bolted to the nursery, Lucas on her heels, but their daughter slept soundly. Oblivious? He's toying with us, Lucas growled, crumpling the note. We end this now. They called the sheriff set traps, but Ethan was a ghost, slipping through every net. Then, warranted, on a moonless night, the barn caught fire, flames licking the sky, horses screaming. Lucas raced to free them as Abigail dialed 911, Catherine in her arms, the heat searing her lungs. A shadow moved near the blaze. Ethan, his face twisted with rage, a gas can in hand. You took everything, he shouted, lunging as Lucas tackled him, fists flying in the dirt. Abigail screamed for help, deputies swarming as the fire roared. Ethan's laughter wild until cuffs snapped on his wrists. You're done, Lucas spat, blood trickling from his lip as he stood over him. For good. Ethan's eyes met hers, hollow and unrepentant. Harpers don't lose, he rasped, even as they dragged him away. The barn smoldered, a charred skeleton by dawn. But the ranch stood, horses safe, family intact. Abigail held Catherine tight, Lucas's arm around them. The sheriff's words of faint comfort. He's locked up, no bail this time. Victor arrived days later. Parole granted for his cooperation. His face etched with shame as he surveyed the damage. I made him what he is, he said, voice breaking. I'm sorry, Abby, for all of it. She handed him Catherine, a fragile bridge. Help us rebuild, she said, For her, he nodded, tears falling. A grandfather at last. Fall painted the valley gold as Abigail and Lucas rebuilt the barn, Catherine helping with toy tools. Her laughter a melody over the hammer strikes. The foundation thrived. Ethan's trial loomed with airtight evidence, and Victor worked quietly at their side, funding repairs with the last of his wealth. One evening, in the rebuilt meadow, Abigail stood with Lucas, Catherine on his shoulders, the mountains glowing under a harvest moon. "We're free," she whispered, feeling her mother's presence in the wind. Elizabeth's fight complete. Her legacy alive in their daughter's fearless eyes. "Not just free," Lucas said, kissing her softly. "Hey." The stars above Hayden Creek blazed bright, a testament to a love that had conquered fear. A family forged in fire, and a future no shadow could touch. Winter settled over Hayden Creek Ranch like a soft white blanket. The first snow of December dusting the rebuilt barn and frosting the meadows where Abigail Kane stood, her breath puffing in the crisp air. Catherine, now a sturdy 8-month-old, giggled from her perch in Lucas's arms, her mittened hands reaching for the flakes drifting down from a slate-gray sky. The mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks sharp against the horizon, a silent guard over the life they'd carved from the ashes of the Harper legacy. Abigail tucked her scarf tighter, her dark curls spilling free as she watched Lucas spin Catherine in a slow circle, his deep laugh mingling with her daughter's squeals. The barn stood proud behind them, its fresh timber a symbol of resilience, painted with the sweat and hope of a family reborn. Ethan's trial had ended a week ago, guilty on all counts. Arson and attempted murder sealing his fate behind bars for decades. Victor Halrinimwam, frail but determined, had testified against him, his voice trembling as he laid bare the sins that had twisted his son into a monster. The courtroom had been a storm of its own. But when the gavel fell, Abigail felt no triumph, only a quiet release. A door closing on a past that could no longer touch them. Victor approached now, his steps slow across the snow-dusted grass. A knit cap pulled low over his graying hair. He'd been paroled into their custody, his days split between the Foundation's work and quiet moments with Catherine, piecing together a redemption he'd never thought possible. "She's got your mother's spirit," he said, his voice rough with emotion as he watched Catherine bat at the snow. "Fearless. Even in the cold." Abigail smiled, a soft ache in her chest, and Lucas's stubbornness. She added, glancing at her husband, who winked at her over Catherine's head. "She'll need both to keep this place alive." Victor nodded, his gaze distant. "I've signed the last of the Harper estate over to the Foundation, every acre, every dollar. Kapuna shares to be sir. It's yours to finish what Elizabeth started." His eyes met hers, glistening with unshed tears. "I wish I'd seen it sooner. Abby, what she saw in this valley, in people like the Kanes." She reached out, squeezing his hand, the cold biting her fingers, but not her heart. "You're seeing it now, Ahtitari," she said. "That's enough." He swallowed hard, turning to Catherine with a shaky smile as Lucas set her down, letting her toddle toward her grandfather, her boots leaving tiny prints in the snow. The ranch was quiet that evening, the fire crackling in the hearth as Abigail curled against Lucas on the couch, Catherine asleep upstairs in her crib. Margaret bustled in the kitchen, the scent of cinnamon and cloves wafting through the house, a promise of the holiday season unfolding. Lucas traced circles on Abigail's arm, his voice low and warm. "Thought about what's next?" he asked, his green eyes searching hers. She tilted her head, resting it on his shoulder, the weight of his presence a steady anchor. "Keep the foundation growing." "She anatsanam," she said. "Make sure Catherine knows her roots, both sides, the good and the hard. And maybe," she hesitated, a shy smile tugging at her lips, "maybe give her a sibling to boss around." His laugh rumbled through her, rich and unguarded, and he pulled her closer, kissing her temple, a whole herd of little Canes. "Reckon we can handle that. We've handled worse," she murmured, her hand finding his, their fingers lacing together as the firelight danced across the room. Outside, snow fell thicker, blanketing the ranch in silence. But inside, their world glowed with a warmth that no storm could dim. Days later, Abigail stood in the high meadow where their love had first sparked, the snow crunching under her boots as Lucas joined her, Catherine bundled in his arms. The wildflowers were long gone, buried beneath winter's embrace, but the memory of that September day lingered. The ring, the promise, the leap into a future neither had fully understood. "This is it," she said softly, her breath a white cloud as she looked out over the valley. The Yellowstone River, a silver thread below. The life Mom dreamed of, not empires, but this son. Lucas shifted Catherine, his free hand slipping around Abigail's waist, pulling her close. She'd be proud, Abby, of you, of us. And Catherine, she's got the best of both worlds in her. Abigail leaned into him, feeling their daughter's steady heartbeat against her own, a rhythm of hope and strength. No more shadows, she whispered, the words a vow to herself, to them, to the little girl who'd inherit a legacy washed clean of blood and greed. The wind sighed through the pines, carrying a faint echo of Elizabeth's laughter. Or maybe it was just Abigail's imagination, a gift from a mother who'd never truly left her. As the sun dipped below the Bridger Mountains, painting the snow in shades of rose and gold, Abigail turned to Lucas, her eyes bright with a peace she'd fought tooth and nail to claim. We did it, she said, her voice steady. Sure, we're home from a canoe. He smiled, that slow, heart-melting grin, and kissed her softly, Catherine cooing between them as the world stretched out before them. Endless, bright, and theirs. The past was a scar, healed over by love and truth, and the future shimmered like the snow under starlight, a canvas for their daughter to paint with her own dreams. Hayden Creek Ranch stood as a testament to their victory, not just over Ethan's malice or Victor's sins, but over fear itself, a beacon of what courage and heart could build from ruin. And now, my dear friends, as we close this chapter of Abigail and Lucas's journey, a tale of love rising from ashes, of a family forged in fire, I hope it's warmed your heart as much as it's warmed mine. If this story of resilience and redemption and the unbreakable bonds of love has touched you, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Your support brings these tales of hope and triumph to more souls who might need them, building a community that believes in the power of love to conquer all. Tell me in the comments what moved you most: Abigail's stand against her brother's lies, Lucas's unwavering strength, or little Catherine, the spark of a new legacy. Let me know where you're watching from, your city, your country, and what kind of love story you'd like to hear next. Until we meet again under these wide Montana skies, keep holding tight to the ones you love. And remember, the truest legacies are the ones we build with our hearts. With all my love, your storyteller.